So any of this, so the issue with any of those tools is twofold. One, I don't like creating avoidance in my dogs to environmental stress because of the things that I'm going to do with them. So if somebody's just raising a pet dog and use something to startle that dog and make them stop doing something, that's not necessarily a problem. I train dogs for sports that require that my dogs not respond badly to somebody surprising them with some environmental stressor. So when my dog's doing a downstay and somebody comes up and throws something that makes noise, my dog can't be stressed by that, right? And they can't move from their down. The decoys in the sport I use will try to use different kinds of things. They'll squirt water on your dog, they'll throw things at your dog, all these kinds of things. And so if you've used one of those things a lot, your dog can then have a negative response to something in the environment if you're not careful. So I have a tendency to make the corrections that I give dogs about their behavior over something that I've taught so that they don't associate it with something in the environment, and I don't try to surprise them as a form of correction a lot because of what I want to do with them. If you don't want to do that, that's less of an issue. The other thing was any of those surprise corrections and things like that, they tend to wear off, right? So what happens is you get a couple of good startles and the dog's like, whoa, what was that? But if the dog has reasonably good confidence, then pretty soon it doesn't work anymore. So if somebody has a shake can or a throw can or this spray thing or whatever it is, the first couple times it surprises the dog, and then the dog starts going like, whatever, I don't care, right? And so they go from shaking the thing and throwing it near him to startle him to hitting him with it, and it escalates until it gets problematic. And there are other better ways of correcting a dog. That said, if it's a single behavior and you surprise a dog once for something, then it can be effective in those circumstances. But I tend not to like them in the same way. I like the corrections to be, for those kinds of things, a little more hands-on my part, like, hey, I told you to stop, that's why you're getting corrected. It's less about your impulsive behavior that I'm not gonna make go away in a single correction anyway, and your lack of responsiveness to me. So when I said stop, you were supposed to stop, and so I'm gonna be the one that goes over and pokes you and says, don't do that, I said stop. As opposed to trying to just stop the behavior with some kind of surprise thing that people use. Those things have a very strong tendency to escalate, right? Because the dogs get used to them. Just like any kind of correction can too. If you use a lot of, we'll talk about it tomorrow when we start talking about escape and avoidance, but if you use a lot of low-level correction in your training, dogs get hardened to that. And it's the same if you overuse any of those sorts of surprise things, the dogs just get used to them. And there's not a physical discomfort portion with most of them, it's just the surprise portion. And once your dog realizes that nothing bad follows the surprise, then it stops working and you have to back it up with something more anyway. Yeah.
So that would be a way to teach them to be okay with those kind of things and for training for sports. Not
Yeah.
use it against them, but to desensitize them to it.
Yeah, so when we're talking about sport dogs and making the dogs, then we usually use rewards or other high arousal activities like biting or playing, and we deliberately put some of those things in a very incremental way as we're doing those things, right? So we do in our puppy class the week before last, we do like recalls through and over things that make noise, and so we're doing restrained recalls, but we also set up all kinds of stuff that the puppy has to run through and climb over, and things that make noises and things that are slippery and all those kinds of things. And then we'll do the same thing in restrained play and bite work as we go forward. I'll have a dog and I'm teasing the dog, but so he's being held, I'm teasing the dog with a toy, and then I shake something over here that makes a surprising noise, and then I give the dog their toy. And I shake something and give them their toy, shake something, and pretty soon I can go like I'm throwing it at their head and then give them a toy, and they don't care about it anymore, right? So in a very incremental way, using the dog's motivation for some other activity or reward of some kind, we desensitize the dog to all kinds of environmental stressors from people, yelling, other things like that, hitting your dog with things, all kinds of things that are going to be a part of protection work as we go forward, right?